Hello, people. This is Mark and Lara from Kharischangeworks. Guys, I hope you are well. If you've been following the channel, particularly of late, you would have noticed that we've been discussing the principle of what goes around comes around, the boomerang. And we've also looked at toxicity versus corrosiveness. More recently, we looked at the minute that you escape away from it, that there's life and love and healing, growth, and all this kind of stuff. As soon as you cross over that line that says this is the past and this is now my future, it is what it is. Now, it's very easy to say, I'm scot-free from all the Narc traits. It is always the other person. Yeah. And very often we use the Narc as a scapegoat for our bad attitude and for our bad ways of being. Because you see, we're not Narc. They the Narc. So it's easy to go, it's the Narc's fault. The Narc did this. What they did affected me like this. Whilst that might be completely and utterly true, the reality of what we're going to be discussing to some degree might be a little bit uncomfortable if you're not a Narc, if you're not corrosive. And this is what we're going to be kind of touching on. And what I want to say before we actually start this discussion, that I make no excuses for what's going to be said. If it is that you feel very uncomfortable with the content of this, it might just be that it's hidden there. But at the same time, what I want to do is I want to prod your self-awareness to where you realize that it is not always them that's at fault. And this is the thing. Lara and I are two individuals that survived it. Not only have we survived it, but we've metamorphosized, for a better word, from being completely destroyed to now having a bit of a life, albeit very different. But we've learned amazing lessons because of this. And because people are human, as I was saying to Lara a little bit earlier when I spoke to her, the thing with the people are, and this is the discussion today, is we are very egocentristic, self-centered, self-absorbed, self-boosting in many ways. Consider going for a job. What do they say? Sell yourself. Praise yourself up. These kind of things. So it is nearly encouraged where we are, I don't want to use the word enticed, but we are nearly enticed to have certain Narc-like traits. And if we are honest, and if we are brave, you would nod your head and go, yep. There are times when I can act in a very Narc-like manner. I think of a situation where I'm in discussion with a particular individual, and I've noticed how my conversation and my attitude towards this particular person has changed from being a little bit gentle to seeing a few things, becoming even gentler still, and then he tipped the tables. And now I am employing some of the lessons and the exams learned through years of schooling. And I'm now applying similar tactics. And the poor soul is not very happy because he's now seeing the other side. As I told him a few weeks ago, he's now seeing the sandpaper side of me rather than the buffing compound side of me. Now I will say right from the beginning, I'm no Narc. In fact, I have very little time for Narc. But what we need to understand is this, and this is Lara will come up with her own stories here too, is we have Narc traits in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable with it. It might be because it's true. So, Lara, thoughts on this bit that we have Narc traits kind of built into our characters and personalities?
I agree. I think it's part of human nature. I think we all, like you said, are encouraged to sell ourselves in interviews. I think sometimes you need to be a bit assertive because you can't be a floor mat. So you kind of need to stand up for yourself and do things that would seem a bit assertive to other people that you might not normally do. But like I said, you can't be a floor mat. You've got to actually be able to stand up for yourself and have an opinion and just be the person you're meant to be. And sometimes that means being a bit rougher, like sandpaper to people, than just being sweet and gentle all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, we see this with our kids, you know, for example, we can't always be gentle and talk to them. And sometimes you've got to say to them, listen, you're making a mess, or you're not making the right life choices. Stop being silly. That's not who you are. You know, and that's when the sandpaper needs to come out. And unfortunately, it is part of the Narc traits because you need to be assertive sometimes. But there's a huge difference between having traits and actually being a Narc. I think that's what people need to know from the outset. But yes, everybody has Narc tendencies because we're human. We like getting our own way. We have ideas in our heads and we want to see things done this way. And we need to compromise because that's what life's about. But when you're a Narc, compromise is not an option.
Correct.
It's their way or the highway.
It's their way, or their way. So have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking today, for you as an administrator, there's a certain way of doing things, isn't it? Or isn't there? Now,
Yeah, there is.
There is. There's your way of doing things. So that's a Narc trait is presenting itself. See, if I were to do your job as an administrator, chances are you'd be chewing on my ear. It's true, because see, my style of admin versus your style of admin, chalk and cheese.
Correct. It is.
Because I don't like admin. It is as simple as that, right?
Yes.
Now, if I were to give you a piece of paper with some stuff on, and I know that you're a good administrator, the Narc bit in me will have to say, leave it to Lara because she's a far better admin than what you could ever be. Even if God did the greatest of miracles, I would still not be anywhere near as good as other people because admin is not in my DNA. I reckon when I was made, the admin DNA molecule was probably on holiday somewhere, right? But that's just the way that I am. Where if you look at that thing, you go, what the hell has he done here? It's just a mess. And then you'd fix it. You see, if I was Narc, I would go, why have you done that? I don't want it like this. I want it like this. And we can argue and fight over some admin. But for you as the admin, the Narc tendency is it needs to be right. Punctuations, grammar, spelling, it has to flow. Whatever you admin characters do, it just needs to work.
Absolutely.
Right. And
absolutely.
Right? And with all the career choices, because it has to be just so. Now, I would also say, for me, when I do my style of work, it has to be my way.
Because
it makes sense to me.
Correct.
If someone tells me something else, it's like, shut up. You don't really think like I think. You don't process stuff like I process. So whilst I hear what you're trying to say to me, it might just bounce off me because I might not be interested in that. That's their stuff. I'm interested in my stuff, and I do it my way.
Correct.
And that's where my Narc tendencies might come to the forefront. And folks,
yes, absolutely.
We're given two examples of how the Narc trait kind of raises its ugly head from time to time. Lara is an administrator. Now, I've sent her some stuff, and she's completely destroyed it, as far as I'm concerned.
Really?
Yeah. But it was better. Because if I gave that piece of work to someone else who was an administrator, they would go, what's going on here? Were you drunk or something when you typed this up?
Yes.
It's true, isn't it? Let's be fair.
Yes, it is. Very much so.
But folks, what I want you to understand here is simply this. Just because you have a Narc trait or certain Narc characteristics, it does not make you, it doesn't qualify you as being Narc. Equally, just because the Narc has got, dare I say, non-Narc traits, it doesn't make them a non-Narc. There's this yin-yang thing, the balance, because ultimately we are selfish. We are, like I said in the beginning, we are egocentristic. If you pay attention to how you speak, you will hear these words frequently. I want, I have, I did, I said, I this, I this, I this, I this. And a lot of the content and what we talk about is about the self. Because that's what we basically are. We are about me. It's very difficult to break away from the I and start considering others as the us or maybe the them. But folks, what I want to say to you and consider this, the Narc trait in a Narc is uncontrollable. Where with us, as a non-Narc, the non-Narc traits is uncontrollable. So let's flip it on its head here. For us as non-Narcs, when we have the Narc traits, because we identify the traits, it makes it easy to control or easier to control. Where the Narc can't do that. Because in many ways, psychologically, selfishly, the Narc is out of control. So when you're dealing with a Narc and you see a non-Narc trait, it might be at that point in time that they are having a flat spin, as people say in South Africa particularly. But very, very quickly they will swap things around and they will reverse it to the I kind of talk.
Yes.
So what I want to say is, and I think the discussion here is, it is who controls who, or who controls what. If you as a person can control your Narc traits, then it's a thumbs up.
Correct.
If you can't control those Narc traits, as if it is second nature, chances are that you might be Narc. And this power game is really important to understand. That it is the idea of who is in control. Consider for yourself. When you feel yourself and you are in a happy place, your head's in the right place, your stomach says everything is going well, your heart is synchronizing very well with everything that you are, you're content, you're happy, you are in a good place. So when that Narc trait comes, it's just like a fleeting moment. However, when you're not in your happy place, shall we say, your head's messed up, it feels like it's filled with out-of-date soup, with rotten carrots and peas, and it just, everything on the inside is just full of stench. And now your heart is saying bitter, bitter, angry, angry, bitter, hate, and all this kind of stuff. And your stomach says, I really can't manage this.
Mm.
And your whole environment is sour, as if you've had a bath in lemon juice. And you have that opportunity to control things. You're a better person than me. So when that Narc trait comes, it's as if it's just second nature. I consider today, you don't have to train a woman to be a woman. You don't have to train a man to be a man. It just happens over time. You don't have to train a kid to be selfish. It just happens. You don't train a dog to be a dog. You take a dog to be the kind of dog that you want it to be, a horse, whatever the case might be. You have to train it. And what I'm saying here is, when you recognize that there are certain Narc traits that are in your life that is not serving you well, just like that wild dog that you have, you can tame it and make it a little bit more helpful for you, where it serves you better, where that potency of the trait and the damage that that trait can cause can be lessened. That's of course assuming that you are non-Narc. The Narc themselves haven't got that awareness. You can't train a Narc to be a non-Narc. It's like trying to say to a python, you can be any kind of snake that you want, but no, you can't be a restrictor. Because the only thing that a python or a boa knows is to constrict. And a Narc is exactly the same. They will restrict you through all the tactics they utilize.
Correct.
But the summary of all of this video is who is in control of who. And that is the defining, from my perspective, Lara, I don't know about you, but from my perspective, that is the defining quality that separates a Narc from a non-Narc, even though a non-Narc might have these traits that could be ticked as Narc-like.
I totally agree with you, because the Narc likes being in control of everything, and you don't get a say. So, yeah, there's a huge difference, like we said. Traits and being a Narc is two different things.
Yes.
And it boils down to, if you can control your traits, that's awesome. But when you can't, you have an issue.
It's a big thing.
Mm.
So there you go, folks. Just because one segment in the orange is bad doesn't make the whole thing bad. It makes that segment bad. You can take that segment and its neighboring segments, and you can take them and chuck it, and the rest of the orange is fine. Likewise, if you consider you as an orange, as a human being, when you find that Narc-like trait, there's something you can do about it.
Correct.
And my encouragement and Lara's encouragement is probably the same. When you identify it, I've said before, once you become aware, only then can you do things about it. So when you become aware that you have these traits and it's not serving you well, do something constructive and positive about it so that it serves you better.
Yes.
Be in control of it, rather it being in control of you. That's today's.
Absolutely.
There you go, folks. Please do all the YouTube admin, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, click all, comments in the comments box. Please tell all your friends and family. This channel is rich in some incredible information. Real life experience, not theory, not gained from a book or something. This is stuff that we've had to endure and work through.
Correct.
If you have anybody in your life that you know of, whether it be a friend or a family or just your neighbor down the road, and you suspect that they are subject to a Narc relationship or a corrosive relationship, please point them in the direction of this channel. We are eager to help.
Absolutely.
But for now, this is Mark and Lara from Kharischangeworks, and we will speak to you soon.
Bye.